Welcome back to Deep Dive Discussion, where we explore the ideas, strategies, and stories that truly matter. Thanks as always to Estayo, the producer and director of our program.
Good to be diving in again.
So today our topic is the book Think Again by Adam Grant. We've got some really interesting material based on it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. Really makes you, well, think again.
Exactly. So the mission for this deep dive, we want to unpack why rethinking and maybe even unlearning are becoming like critical skills today.
Absolutely. Grant's core idea is that, being willing to change your mind isn't weakness. It's actually a strength. It's about intellectual humility, staying curious.
Okay, so let's dive in. Grant kicks things off by talking about these different thinking modes we fall into. He calls them the preacher, the prosecutor, and the politician. They don't sound great.
No, they're usually not. So think of it like this. The preacher. You're convinced you're right, and you're basically delivering a sermon to convert everyone else.
Right, defending your sacred beliefs.
Exactly. Then the prosecutor mode. You hear someone else's idea, and you immediately pounce, looking for every single flaw to, win the argument.
Okay, tear it down.
Yeah. And the politician. You're kind of campaigning. You shift your views to win over the audience, get their approval.
Saying what people want to hear.
Pretty much. And the big problem with all three is they stop you from actually figuring out what's true. You're too busy defending or performing.
Yeah, you get locked in. It feels familiar, unfortunately. But he offers an alternative, right? The scientist mode.
Yes, and this is key. The scientist mode changes the game entirely.
How so?
Well, instead of clinging to your beliefs like they're treasures, you treat them more like hypotheses, things to be tested.
Okay, so provisional ideas.
Exactly. Your main goal isn't to be right, it's to find the truth. So you actively look for evidence that might disprove your hypothesis.
Oh, interesting. You seek out the counter evidence.
Precisely. It embraces uncertainty. Being wrong isn't failure, it's discovery. It's, okay, that didn't pan out, what can I learn?
That makes sense. It's a more efficient way to learn, really. If you want thorough knowledge quickly, testing your ideas seems smarter than just defending them.
It really is. You're constantly updating, refining.
So how can we, catch ourselves when we're maybe slipping into preacher mode before a big presentation or prosecutor mode in a debate?
Self-awareness is the big one. You have to notice your own reactions. Like, do you feel that defensiveness rising when someone questions you?
Yeah, that gut reaction.
Right. Or are you spending all your energy poking holes in their argument instead of actually trying to understand where they're coming from?
Or just trying to sound good, like the politician.
Yeah. Grant suggests asking yourself this really powerful question. What evidence would actually change my mind on this?
Ooh, okay.
If you can't even imagine any evidence that could possibly sway you, well, that's a pretty strong sign you're probably preaching, not thinking scientifically.
That's a great test. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Confidence and humility. Grant talks about this balance, mentioning Dunning-Kruger and imposter syndrome. Can you give us a quick refresher?
Sure. So Dunning-Kruger, that's basically when people aren't very good at something, but they don't know they're not good at it. Their incompetence actually masks their awareness of their incompetence.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imposter syndrome is kind of the flip side. You have people who are really skilled, really accomplished, but they constantly doubt themselves. They feel like a fraud, always worried they'll be exposed.
It's wild how our self-perception can be so off in either direction, so neither extreme is good. What's the sweet spot?
Grant calls it confident humility. It sounds a bit like a contradiction, but it's not.
Confident humility.
It means you have genuine confidence in your abilities, you trust your judgment, but you also recognize you don't know everything. You acknowledge your limitations.
So confidence in your process, maybe, but humility about your current knowledge.
Something like that. You're confident enough to act, but humble enough to know you might need to adjust, to learn more, to rethink if new evidence comes along. And this mix, it leads to better learning, definitely better relationships, and, better performance overall.
That makes intuitive sense. If you think you know it all, why bother learning? So for listeners focused on growth, how can they cultivate this confident humility?
Well, one way is to actively seek out areas where you might be wrong or where your knowledge is thin.
Yeah.
Like consciously ask, what am I missing here?
Be proactive about finding blind spots.
Yeah. And practice saying, I don't know. Or even, you know what, I think I was wrong about that. It's powerful.
It takes guts, though.
It does initially. But it helps to focus on the process of learning, not just on always being right. And try to separate your ego from your ideas. Being wrong doesn't make you less valuable.
That's a really important point. It actually connects to another idea in the book, finding joy in being wrong, which sounds strange.
Right. It sounds totally counterintuitive. We're taught being wrong is bad, failure, embarrassing.
Yeah, avoid it at all costs.
But Grant argues if we can detach our identity, our sense of self, from our specific beliefs, then being wrong just becomes data. It's a chance to learn.
So it's about reframing it, not I failed, but I discovered something.
Exactly. He talks about developing a scientific identity where what you value most is the process of discovery, the pursuit of truth, rather than just defending your current stance.
That makes expertise tricky then, doesn't it? Because experts can get really attached to their knowledge.
Absolutely. It's called cognitive entrenchment. You get so deep in your field, so invested in what you know, that you might actually resist new evidence that contradicts it. So finding joy in being wrong helps counteract that. It keeps you open.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Actively cultivate this joy, or at least acceptance of being wrong.
Well, Grant has some practical suggestions. One is building a challenge network.
A challenging network.
Yeah, basically a group of people you trust, who you know will challenge your thinking, who aren't afraid to disagree with you respectfully.
People who won't just nod along.
Right. He also mentions things like scheduling doubt days, intentionally revisiting core beliefs and questioning them, or keeping a journal of how your thinking changes.
Huh, doubt days. I like that. It's like preventative maintenance for your brain.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And maybe the biggest thing is just consciously acknowledging when you realize you were wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe even celebrating it slightly as, like, cool, I leveled up my understanding.
Okay, interesting. Now let's talk conflict, because challenging ideas can lead to conflict. But Grant makes a really useful distinction here.
Yes, this is crucial. He separates relationship conflict from task conflict.
Okay, what's the difference?
Relationship conflict is personal. Yeah. It's clashes of ego, friction, resentment, finger pointing. It's almost always bad for teamwork, for morale, for getting anything done.
Right, that toxic stuff.
Exactly. But task conflict, that's about the work itself. It's disagreeing about ideas, about the best approach, debating different strategies. And that, when it's done well, can actually be incredibly productive.
So arguing about the idea, not the person.
Precisely. Grant even says, the absence of conflict is not harmony, it's apathy. If nobody ever disagrees or pushes back, it probably means people don't care enough or don't feel safe enough to speak up.
That's a powerful thought. Apathy, not harmony. You know.
So, healthy debate, constructive disagreement about the task can lead to sharper thinking, more creative solutions, catching potential problems early.
So how do we encourage that good kind, the task conflict, without letting it slide into the bad kind, the relationship conflict?
A big part is psychological safety. People need to feel they can disagree without being punished or, personally attacked.
Creating that safe space first.
Absolutely. And then focusing the conversation on the issue, not the person. Using phrases like, what if we considered this approach instead of, your idea won't work?
Focusing on the what, not the who.
Yes. And active listening is huge. Really try to understand the other person's point before you jump in to critique it. Maybe even find points of agreement first. Okay, I see where you're coming from on X and Y, but I'm wondering about Z.
Frame it collaboratively. We're solving this together.
Exactly. Keep the shared goal in mind.
Okay, this leads nicely into influencing others, or maybe helping them rethink. Grant talks about persuasive listening. What's that about? It's not just arguing better, is it?
No, not at all. It's almost the opposite. Persuasive listening isn't about delivering your killer arguments. It's about influencing by genuinely understanding the other person.
Understanding them first.
Yeah, listening deeply to their perspective, their reasons, their values. Grant mentions motivational interviewing as a related technique.
Motivational interviewing.
It's often used in counseling, but the principle applies here. You ask open-ended questions to help the other person explore their own motivations for potentially changing their mind.
Ah, so you're not telling them they're wrong. You're helping them see it for themselves, like guiding them to their own aha moment.
Exactly. People resist being lectured, but they're much more open if they feel they arrived at the conclusion themselves. It's less confrontational, more collaborative.
Makes sense.
And interestingly, Grant also notes that sometimes acknowledging complexity and nuance is actually more persuasive than trying to oversimplify things into a black and white argument.
Right, because it shows you've actually thought about it deeply, not just pushing an agenda.
Precisely. It builds credibility.
So, practically, how can we use this persuasive listening? What kind of questions help?
Genuine curiosity is key. Ask open-ended questions like, what challenges do you see with this approach? Or help me understand your thinking on that point. Or what would need to be true for this other option to work?
Questions that invite exploration, not just yes/no answers.
Exactly. And listen not just for the words, but for the underlying feelings or values. Reflect back what you hear. So it sounds like you're concerned about. That helps people feel heard, which makes them more open.
These are really valuable communication skills, not just for persuasion, but for collaboration in general. Okay, finally, Grant wraps a lot of this up in what he calls the rethinking cycle. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. It's a continuous loop. It starts with humility, recognizing you don't have all the answers.
Okay, step one, humility.
That humility naturally leads to doubt, questioning your current beliefs. Am I sure about this?
Doubt.
That doubt sparks curiosity, wanting to learn more, seeking out different views.
Curiosity, got it.
Curiosity leads to discovery. You find new information, gain new insights, maybe realize you were wrong about
Which is
something.
the aha moment again.
Kind of, yeah. And that discovery brings you back, full circle, to humility. Because now you know more, but you also realize there's always more to learn, and the cycle starts again.
Humility, doubt, curiosity, discovery, humility. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's not about flipping your opinions constantly just for the sake of it. It's about having a reliable process for evaluating what you believe.
The quality of the rethinking matters more than the frequency.
Precisely. Are you willing to look at evidence? Are you comfortable with uncertainty? Can you admit when you don't know or when you got something wrong? That's the heart of it.
Wow. Okay, this has been a fantastic deep dive into think again. So many powerful ideas. Rethinking as a skill, that confident humility, finding value in being wrong, constructive conflict.
Yeah, it really all circles back to thinking a bit more like a scientist about our own beliefs, holding them a bit more lightly, being willing to test and update them.
It's incredibly relevant for just about everything we do. So for you, our listener, here's something to maybe chew on today.
Yeah.
Pick one belief you hold pretty strongly, something you feel quite sure about.
Mm.
And then ask yourself honestly, what evidence, if I encountered it, would genuinely make me reconsider this belief? What would it take to change my mind? Just thinking about that question, that can be a really powerful start to, well, thinking again.
Great final thought. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thanks for listening. Grab Estayo's latest book on Amazon. Need business consulting, AI, book writing, and publishing? Yes has your back. Contact Estayo or leave a comment. Until next time, keep diving deep. #MakeIt a 13 Minors discussion.